Alright guys, what is going on? So hopefully the lighting isn't too bad. I'm at my sister's house right now, and I wanted to talk more swim baits. The other day I did a video, I was at my house, and like I said, not when I was like, oh, most of my swim baits are at my sister's house. And so now we're here, we got my swim bait rod, going to talk about that. Got some swim baits which are hooked all over, got some glide baits which I'm dropping, a bunch of HUD, some, weedless swim baits, bunch of different rig stuff. So let's get into this. Let's talk, because I like to talk about swim baits. I like to talk. And the weird thing is in public, when I'm around people, I don't like to talk. But when I'm face to face to a camera, I love talking. I could talk like this forever, post it on YouTube, and make tons of videos. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. The last video got like no views, so no one's probably going to watch it. But here we go. So starting out, we're going to talk about some Huddlestons here, because that's the majority of my baits. I have a few glide baits. Right now I'm working on getting some more glide baits, because I really want to throw glide baits a lot more this year. And I'm actually trying to build a little glide bait right here. This is one that I've been working on building. Right there. Right now it's apart, but eventually it's going to be together. And so I'm actually trying to build that right there, kind of off of a mother. I kind of took a Roman-made mother and printed it out on a piece of paper. You guys will see this. You guys will see it. I'm trying to do a video on building it. And anyway, I'm trying to build a big glide bait right now. It's going pretty, look at that. It's pretty dang dope right there so far. So anyway, so let's get into this. So Huddleston swim baits. When, where, why, how to rig, all this stuff we're going to talk about because I feel like talking about it. Sit back, relax, and listen to me talk forever, which I've already been talking for 2 minutes and doesn't even seem like that. Sorry if I'm talking too fast. So Huddlestons. Where do I start? So Huddleston swim baits are a very popular swim bait, right? And they started out, I'm pretty sure the first Huddleston they ever made was the 8-inch trout. And then from there he kind of went all over the 6-inch, the 68, the 10-inch bait now that he has. The majority of mine are 8 inches. I got a couple 8-inch HUDs at home, and I got a couple here at my sister's house with me. And so Huddlestons. Now if you look at these three here that I have, these are all 8 inches. Like I said, majority of the ones I have are 8 inches. I have a few 68s. If I'm going to throw the 6-inch, they're going to be the 68. I don't like to throw the regular 6-inch. I want the 68, which is a 6-inch bait, but it's got the same exact tail that these 8-inch baits have. So it's got a big, thick tail, and it throws off a lot of commotion. It's actually a pretty decent summer bait. A lot of people don't throw Huddlestons in the summertime, right? Because they have that slow, you're supposed to work them slow, get that slow kick out of them, which you might talk about later. And a lot of people, they think, once the water gets, warmer, once the water gets a little dirtier, going into summertime, they stop throwing Huddlestons. And, even the 8-inch versions, or even the regular 6-inch version, they will get bit in the summertime. I'm going to tell you right now, that old thing that don't throw swim baits in the summer, that's baloney. Now it's tough, and I think it's definitely tougher than other parts of the year, but just like any fishing, you can't go throw a frog, year-round and catch a fish unless you live, maybe like Texas or somewhere very warm year-round. But most of the time you can't go take one lure and throw it year-round and catch fish on it anyway. But this is a bait where you could almost do that. Now it's going to shine, it's going to shine in certain situations, but it will work pretty much year-round. You could catch a fish on it. Don't be afraid to throw it. A lot of times people would do that. They'll throw this in, what they think is the good situation. And, summer rolls around, they have a certain condition, they're like, oh, I'm not going to throw the Huddleston. But you'd be surprised. And so back to that 68, that's a good summertime bait because it's smaller. In the summertime, I like to downsize a little bit. And so the 6-inch side is good. And it's got that bigger tail, so it puts off a little bit more thump. So it's a smaller body with still a decent more thump on there. And, a Huddleston, they're killer baits. So the three that I have with me here, you'll notice maybe that they're all rigged a little bit different. This one here, these are all 3 different colors too. I have one of each color at my sister's house. This is a holdover trout right here. which is a darker, just like a dark trout, is what it looks like. Still a trout pattern, you guys probably can't see because of the lighting, and then a rainbow trout, which is, you know, standard rainbow trout, which the thing I dislike is rainbow trout catches fish everywhere, okay? So, I mean, you can take rainbow trout color, or because it's a really fishy color, it's got that silvery, it's got like, you know, the green back on there, dark green black, silvery, the spots, a little bit of pink shine in there. So it looks like a ton of different bait fish. So everyone buys it, you know, everyone asks what's the color of Huddleston you should get, and everyone says rainbow trout. So they're always out of stock. But what sucks is that for me, that actually is the forage around here. You know, a lot of guys will be like, they're fishing California, they're fishing a lake with no trout, and they still will say to throw trout baits. And good for you, you know, props to you, it still works. But for guys like me that actually have trout stocked lakes and actually, the fish actually really key in on that color, kind of sucks because it's hard to get. But I've got a few of them now. So this one here you can see is just got the normal top jig hook on there. That holdover trout, it's got that jig hook with a little stinger treble. I'm going to talk about these, a different rigging and what I think about them. And this one here, which is actually, what happened to this one, the paint peeled off. Some of these Huddlestons that I've been getting recently, I don't know what it is, but a few of them I've gotten recently, the paint isn't as good and the paint's kind of coming off. This one a little bit on the belly, you can see right there, it's starting to peel a little bit. And this one, it started peeling really bad. I started fishing it really hard, and it started peeling pretty bad. So I just peeled it all off to see what it looked like. And sure enough, it was actually white. It's actually like the albino color, plain white. And, you know, that might work in some situations. Murkier water would probably work really good. You know, maybe if you're keying in on some kind of white, you know, more forage, bait fish that looks more white in the water, you know, or just to get them to get their attention. But around here, like I said, it's the trout. So I tried to kind of custom paint this. It's actually just a marker. I literally took like a Sharpie marker and did this, and it actually like sunk down into the bait. I wasn't expecting it to do that. It actually, like, the bait absorbed it. So if you actually cut into this bait, it's like, so the top here I did blue. So if I cut into the bait, you can see the blue went all the way down in. So it's not coming off. But this, I kind of left a little bit of white in there. I did a pink little stripe. I did the blue on top. Tried to make it more of like that. Tried to do kind of like a trout or kind of like a silvery bait fish. And then I accidentally spilt some JJ's Magic all over it. I did not mean to do that. So it actually has some chartreuse in there as well. So it's kind of a weird bait. I didn't mean to do that. I had it in a bag and spilled some of the chartreuse dye on there. So it's got like chartreuse, a little bit of pink, which you probably can't see, blue, and as well as this one has the gill mod. You may be able to see there. I don't think, no, the other ones that I have here don't. But these ones actually have the gill mod where you slice, maybe I'll do it a video, but you basically take a piece of pipe cleaner, you slice a little spot, stick it in there, cover it with super glue. So it looks like gills sticking out. And honestly, it's a wacky color. And since I did that, I kind of have been shying away from this bait. But it's probably a bad thing because honestly, it looks pretty good. Like, it's wacky, but like, I guarantee it will get bit. Like, any color, I'm telling you, with baits this big, any good amount of time throwing them, you're gonna get bit. It happens. You know, a lot of people do that. They're with these big swim baits, they're really focused on color. And color can be huge. One of my lakes, heck, the lake right down the road from here, a couple blocks away, they, like I said, it's a trout stock lake. They really key into trout. So if you can have a trout colored bait, you know, sure, you get 10 more bites a day, or, you know, not quite that much because a swim bait, you're not looking for that many, but you get what I'm saying. You're going to get more bites if you have the right color, you know, if they're really keying in on something. But if you spend enough time throwing a bait this big with this much drawing power, it's going to eventually get bit, no matter what color it is, just because it has such a big profile, such a big drawing power that these fish come into it and they've never seen that before. What is it? Is it some kind of weird, they're used to eating trout or they're used to eating shad and they see this coming by and they're like, it has a realistic swim, but they've never seen that color. They don't, you know, take a shot. And eventually you have a fish that's curious enough to come out and take a shot and hit this thing. So this one, like I said, I've shied away from it, but I'm definitely not going to just like stop throwing it. I'm going to definitely put some time into this here coming up pretty soon, hopefully, as soon as this whole Corona deal kind of dies down, if it does. But anyway, I'll do 10 minutes into this video. So I'm going to talk about how I had them rigged. So as you can see, this one here, it's got the top hook, right? And these are all the 8-inch, like I said. And so this has got the normal jig hook, the top hook on here. Most of the time with Huddlestons, that's all you need to do. A lot of people do like think, oh my gosh, it's a big bait. I need to, sorry, I'm hooked into, hooking everything that I set these on. Big sharp hooks. But, you know, everyone's like, oh, you need to take these and rig that stinger hook on there, you know, and do all kinds of things because they're such a big bait. That's what you think when you get them. That's kind of what I thought, like they're such a big bait compared to, you know, little crankbait or something. But really when you're fishing them, like a 3-pounder could come up and swallow this thing like no problem. You'd be surprised. A 3-pounder will come up and he may not necessarily be able to eat it tail to head like this, but he'll come up and he'll headshot it most of the time. If the fish are actually looking to kill the bait, they want to eat it, most of the time they're going to headshot it. Not always, sometimes they come up and nip, but if they're really putting in energy to hit this and they really want to eat it, most of the time they're going to either eat the head or if they're big enough, you know, 3 pounds and up, I've seen them, boom, they just come in and suck the whole thing in and you just feel a nice tick on your rod and swing. And we'll talk about that in a little bit too, the hook sets. But so with the rigging, like I said, most of the time that jig hook is fine. And the thing I look at it too is like every fish that I've seen, that I've personally seen, because you get a lot of follow stone swim baits, Huddlestons, I don't feel like I get quite as many follows on a Huddleston as I do a glide bait. And I just think, you know, it's just how it is, because the glide bait, the way glide bait is, I think a glide bait has a little bit more drawing power, to be honest. Depending on what you're doing with it and what time of year you're fishing and all that. But most of the time when I've seen followers hit a Huddleston, when they just come up and they hit the back, they're small fish anyway. They're 2 pounds or so if they just come up and eat the tail of this bait. And when you're throwing a bait this big, that's not what you want. The reason you step up to a big swim bait, it's not so you can catch a fish and be like, yay, I caught a fish on a swim. Well, how big was it? It was 2 pounds. Well, I just caught a 3-pounder on a jerkbait. Why are you throwing that big of, you know? A guy over here could catch 6 2-pounders on a crankbait, and you catch 1 2-pounder on this. What are you gaining from that? You know, other than the fact that you could say you caught it on a swim bait. You know what I mean? So when you're throwing a swim bait, you're really looking for a big fish. You're looking for that guy over there to be like, oh, I caught 6 2-pounders. What'd you catch? Oh, I caught 1 double digit. I caught 1 8-pounder. And you know, and so you're looking for that big bite. You're not looking for those little ones. So that's why I don't fish a stinger hook a lot, because a big fish is going to most likely eat the whole thing anyway. You know, it's only the little ones that usually come up and eat the tail. And so when you have that stinger treble, you're really just looking for those. It's really, for me, it's kind of a confidence thing. If my confidence is super low and I just need a fish, I'll throw a stinger hook on there. If I'm seeing a lot of like, if I'm not seeing any big fish in one day and I'm seeing a lot of little fish come up, you know, and I'm like, this is it. I want to hook a fish. I haven't seen anything big. That's when maybe I'll throw on the treble. But most of the time, like I said, when you're throwing these, you're looking for a big fish, and a big fish is going to eat the whole thing anyway. So, you know, you don't really, you know, when you're looking for a big fish, you don't necessarily need a stinger hook. Now, bed fishing can be a little different. Bed fishing, depending on if the male, how fired up the male is, if the male's around, or if you're just getting a female fired up, I might throw a stinger on there just because they're not necessarily trying to eat the bait, right? When you're swimming this thing on the bottom in the wintertime, in the springtime, when you're cruising this thing around and they're looking to eat it, like I said, when they're eating it, they're coming up and they're sucking it in. But when you're fishing it on a bed, which I do like to do, because if you see, you know, big 6, 7, 8+ pound fish on a bed and you flip a jig in there, it won't touch it. You flip a Senko, you flip all these baits, they won't touch it. A lot of times you flip something this big and you swim it through there, it gets them fired up. And but they're not necessarily trying to eat it, they're just trying to get it out. So they'll come up and they'll bump it, they're just like that. Hope you guys saw that. I actually just accidentally hooked myself right there, and all I did was hit the side. I didn't even hit the hook. Hit the side and the tail flung around and the hook got me. And that's what you're trying to do. because these big females that are on the bed, they're not necessarily trying to engulf the whole bait. They're just trying to, you know, say, hey, get out of here. So that's going to be it right here. We're going to stop and pick this up in the next one.